teach you a lesson. And I can't believe this is based off real events for the most part. Hello there, namaste. So Teach You a Lesson is a Korean drama about the education system in Korea. South Korea, of course, we have to specify. And anyone who knows about like the judicial system in South Korea, apparently, if you're under the age of 14 and under, you can commit murder, you can do whatever you want, and you can get away scot-clean. Why? Because you're underage, you're a minor, you can't be tried as an adult, there's a period of forgiveness, so you can do whatever you want at that point in time. Most people, you shouldn't, but it's just stating the fact that you literally can as a minor and nothing will happen to you. So the story, it gets triggered off of a teacher that gets stabbed by her student, dies, and the student ends up going to jail for a short period of time for committing murder. I'm not entirely sure of the age of the student, but this story right here kind of bothers me near the end of the series because it puts in motion something positive where there is a bureau, there is a task force that actually goes to school, has the approval to beat children that are literally doing violence and abusing teachers. They have approval to beat the teachers and, well, who are emotionally manipulating students. They have, like, it makes sense. Like, there has to be something in place to protect the teachers, and there has to be something in place to protect the students, because you will always get either or trying to take advantage of a situation. Either there's a rich kid's child in school, literally allowed to do whatever they want, or it's a teacher that's taking advantage of a poor student. And in some cases, it's the parents who just are pushing for their child to do a great job, that they have no problem getting them drugs. And Teach You a Lesson is based off of a web series, which I think, if I remember correctly, the web series was based off of like true events that were happening. Like every single case in the series was actually a real case that ended tragically. It's just, in this situation, the Bureau goes there to investigate and corrects the wrongs. But the teacher that was stabbed in the beginning of the film, her husband was a special forces officer in the Korean military. Her father is like the head, becomes the head of the Education Bureau, which of course leads into a whole nother avenue of political landscapes. So it feels like there's a lot in this series. And again, one thing I like is there's a villain of the week. There is a student of the week who's the villain, or there's a teacher of the week who's a villain, or there's a parent of the week who's a villain. I enjoy that. And the special forces guy literally goes to the schools, beats the children, beats the teachers, you know, those who are causing the problems. And every time you just kind of get happy because you know there's someone there to help the others out. They do investigations. They're allowed to tap phones. They're allowed to, do some criminal activity in order to get the actual evidence they need. It sounds very criminal. Of course, this could never actually happen because it's very invasive unless you're in a police state. It can't happen. It just can't happen. But the father-in-law, who's the father of the girl that got stabbed, the teacher that got stabbed, and her husband, or I guess her fiance, the military soldier, work together to make the Bureau as strong and powerful as possible, to make sure no other teacher, no other student has to deal with what their loved one went through. And through each episode, I enjoyed it. I loved it because you have these massive fight sequences where you have the fiance beating everyone up. And then he has a mentee who's just a crazy woman who ends up falling for the nerd because, of course, they're hacking phones that they need to get as a part of the Bureau. And it becomes so enjoyable. The thing that really did bother me near the end is like everything they try to tie together where, of course, when you have a villain of the week, you need an overarching story throughout the whole story. So, of course, it involves the stabbing of their loved one. Of course it involves that. That is how it starts, that's in the middle, and that's near the end. You learn the entire story. The thing is, near the end of the story, it started to lose me. Because you have, like, this is how I feel. If someone doesn't want to bother learning or doing an education, then they don't deserve one. Let them suffer in their adulthood. You can send them a notification, tell them what their future will be like. If they don't listen, ignore them. The whole thing that led to the death of a teacher, spoiler alert, is her own fault. And that may sound harsh. Because it's a teacher who's trying to get the student back in school. But it was her own fault. Why are you doing that for a student? You already have a full-time job. Do your job. Don't spend extra time trying to motivate your children to actually, or try to motivate your students to do what they are supposed to be doing already. That's not your job. That's their parents' job or their guardian's job. That's not your job as a teacher. That's the thing that really did bother me, because at the near the end, I'm just like, oh, so the whole thing that's taking place now is her own fault. The reason why she got stabbed and bled out was her own fault. And that's going to piss people off, but literally it is. It's like, because in my perspective, I'm like, if someone's not going to do their due diligence, then they shouldn't worry. Like, it's just like a relationship. If each person in a relationship doesn't bother doing what's necessary in it, then guess what? The relationship's not going to last. A student has to make sure that they go to school. The teacher has to make sure that they do the teaching and do the best for their students while the students are there. Not while their students don't show up, so they show up to the student's house to make sure their student they drag the student to school. Look, it made no sense to me. It made absolutely no sense to me, because I'm like, yeah, if people don't put in the effort, I'm not going to bother putting in extra effort to make sure they do their half of the work. But in the end, other than that stupid thing, because again, for me, in my perspective and how I view the world, it makes no sense to me. But other than that, having a villain of the week, having a complete story from beginning to end, every single thing, I enjoyed it. How they punished the children, how they punished the adults, how they brought the everything to light, I enjoyed it. The fact that it's like a reimagining of things and tragedies that happened in South Korea, I enjoy that. Even though I have one issue, I definitely recommend this series. The Teach You a Lesson, definitely, I learned something. And it was enjoyable. Villain of the week. You get something every episode. You get something every episode. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.
You guys got a video? That was so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.